My girlfriend's paranoia landed us in court, and she lost. Enjoying these dramatic Reddit stories? Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more. I should have known things were going to end badly with my girlfriend Jessica. She was the kind of person who saw betrayal in every text message, jealousy in every glance, and conspiracy in every late-night phone call. But I didn't realize just how far her paranoia would go or how much trouble it would land us in until the day she destroyed a car she thought was mine. Spoiler alert, it wasn't mine. Jessica and I had been together for 2 years, and for most of that time I'd been walking on eggshells. She had a temper like a wildfire, quick to ignite and impossible to control. If I didn't answer her calls within 3 rings, she'd accuse me of cheating. If I stayed late at work, she'd show up unannounced to check on me. And if I so much as smiled at another woman, she'd lose her mind. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you just leave her? And honestly, I don't have a good answer. Maybe it was because I thought I could fix her. Maybe it was because I was afraid of what she'd do if I tried to leave. Or maybe it was because, deep down, I still loved her. But all of that changed the day she destroyed the wrong car. It started with a text message. I was at work and Jessica had been blowing up my phone all morning. I'd been in a meeting and couldn't respond, so by the time I checked my phone, I had 17 missed calls and a string of increasingly unhinged texts. Jessica. Who is she? Jessica. I know you're with someone else. Jessica. Answer me, you coward. I sighed and typed out a response. Me. I was in a meeting. I'm not cheating on you. Her reply came instantly. Jessica. Liar. I saw your car parked outside some fancy apartment building last night. Who were you with? I frowned. My car. I hadn't been anywhere near a fancy apartment building last night. I'd been at home, binge-watching Netflix and eating leftover pizza. Me. That wasn't my car. I was home all night. But Jessica wasn't having it. Jessica. Don't lie to me. I know what I saw. I tried to explain, but she wasn't listening. And that's when things spiraled out of control. The next day, I got a call from my friend Mike. Dude, you need to get down here, he said, his voice tense. What's going on? I asked, already dreading the answer. It's Jessica. She's destroying your car. My heart dropped. What? Where? Outside that new luxury apartment building on 5th Street. She's got a baseball bat and she's going to town on it. I grabbed my keys and ran out the door, my mind racing. Why would Jessica think my car was at some random apartment building? And why would she destroy it instead of just talking to me? When I got to the scene, it was chaos. Jessica was standing in the middle of the street screaming at the top of her lungs as she swung a baseball bat at a sleek black Mercedes. The car was already a mess, windows shattered, dents all over the body, the hood crumpled like a piece of paper. Jessica, I shouted, running toward her. What the hell are you doing? She turned to me, her face red with rage. You think you can cheat on me and get away with it? I'll ruin you. That's not my car, I yelled, grabbing her arm. I don't even own a Mercedes. She froze, her eyes widening as she looked at the car. What? That's not my car, I repeated, my voice shaking. You destroyed the wrong car. For a moment, she just stood there, staring at the wreckage. Then slowly, the color drained from her face. Oh my God, she whispered. What have I done? Before I could answer, a man came storming out of the apartment building. He was tall, well-dressed, and looked like he could buy and sell me without breaking a sweat. What the hell is going on here? He demanded, his voice booming. Jessica dropped the baseball bat and took a step back, her hands trembling. I thought it was his car, she stammered, pointing at me. The man's eyes narrowed as he looked at me. Is that true? I shook my head. I had nothing to do with this. She thought I was cheating on her and, well, you can see what happened. The man's face turned red with anger. Do you have any idea how much this car costs? Do you know who I am? I didn't, but I had a feeling I was about to find out. The man turned out to be Marcus Reynolds, a wealthy real estate developer with a reputation for being ruthless, and he wasn't about to let Jessica or me off the hook. You're going to pay for this, he said, his voice cold. Every last penny. Jessica started crying, begging for forgiveness, but Marcus wasn't interested. He called the police, and within minutes, Jessica was in handcuffs. As they led her away, she turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Please, she begged, don't let them take me. I didn't mean to do it. I love you. I wanted to feel sorry for her, but all I felt was anger. Anger at her for destroying someone else's property. Anger at myself for letting things get this far, and anger at the mess I now had to clean up. The moment Jessica was taken away in handcuffs, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because, for the first time in years, I wasn't the one dealing with her explosive temper. Dread because I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Marcus Reynolds, the owner of the now-destroyed Mercedes, wasn't the kind of man who let things slide. I followed the police to the station, my mind racing. What was I supposed to do? Jessica had clearly lost it, but she was still my girlfriend. Did I bail her out? Did I walk away? Did I call her parents? I didn't have answers, but I knew I couldn't just leave her there. When I arrived, Jessica was sitting in a holding cell, her face streaked with tears. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. Please, she whispered. I didn't mean to do it. I thought you were cheating on me. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Jessica, we've been over this. I wasn't cheating on you. And even if I was, destroying someone's car isn't the answer. She started crying again, and I felt a pang of guilt. As much as I wanted to be angry with her, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She was a mess, and I knew her actions came from a place of insecurity and fear. But that didn't change the fact that she just destroyed a $100,000 car. While Jessica was being processed, Marcus Reynolds showed up at the station. He was flanked by 2 lawyers, and he looked even angrier than he had at the scene. You, he said, pointing at me, you're responsible for this. I held up my hands. Look, I had nothing to do with this. Jessica acted on her own. I didn't even know she was going to do it. Marcus wasn't having it. She's your girlfriend, isn't she? That makes you responsible. And I'm not just talking about the car. I'm talking about the humiliation, the inconvenience, the damage to my reputation. Do you have any idea who I am? I didn't, but I had a feeling I was about to find out. I'm suing both of you, he continued. For the cost of the car, for emotional distress, and for punitive damages. You're going to wish you'd never crossed me. I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. I didn't have the kind of money Marcus was talking about, and even if I did, I wasn't about to let Jessica drag me down with her. I called a lawyer friend of mine, Sarah, and explained the situation. She listened quietly, then let out a low whistle. This is bad, she said. Marcus Reynolds isn't just rich, he's connected. If he wants to make your life hell, he can. What do I do? I asked, feeling desperate. First, you need to distance yourself from Jessica, Sarah said. Legally, you're not responsible for her actions, but if you're seen as supporting her, it could complicate things. Second, you need to gather evidence that proves you had nothing to do with this. Texts, emails, anything that shows Jessica acted alone. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. And what about Jessica? Sarah hesitated. That's up to you. But if I were you, I'd let her deal with the consequences of her actions. She's the one who destroyed the car, not you. I went back to the holding cell to talk to Jessica. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. Are you getting me out of here? She asked. I shook my head. Jessica, I can't bail you out. You destroyed a $100,000 car. You're facing criminal charges, and Marcus Reynolds is suing both of us. I need to protect myself. Her face fell. You're leaving me? I'm not leaving you, I said, though I wasn't sure if that was true. But I can't fix this for you. You need to take responsibility for what you did. She started crying again, and I felt another pang of guilt. But I knew Sarah was right. I couldn't let Jessica drag me down with her. Over the next few days, the situation escalated. Marcus filed a lawsuit against both Jessica and me, and the story made headlines. Jealous girlfriend destroys millionaire's Mercedes in fit of rage. Toxic relationship leads to $100,000 car wreck. I was mortified. My face was all over the news, and I couldn't go anywhere without someone recognizing me. Meanwhile, Jessica was released on bail, but she was a mess. She called me constantly, begging for help, but I didn't know what to do. The weeks following Jessica's arrest were a nightmare. The media had a field day with the story, and I couldn't go anywhere without someone recognizing me. My phone blew up with calls from reporters, friends, and even distant relatives who wanted to know if the stories were true. But the worst part was the legal battle. Marcus Reynolds wasn't just suing Jessica, he was suing me too, claiming I was responsible for her actions. His lawyers were ruthless, and I quickly realized I was in way over my head. Marcus's lawsuit was a masterclass in legal intimidation. He wasn't just suing for the cost of the car, he was suing for emotional distress, punitive damages, and even legal fees. The total came to a staggering $250,000, a number that made my stomach churn. This is insane, I told Sarah, my lawyer, during one of our meetings. I didn't even do anything. I know, Sarah said, her tone sympathetic but firm. But Marcus is trying to make an example out of you. He wants to send a message that he's not someone to mess with. What do I do? I asked, feeling helpless. We fight back, Sarah said. We prove that you had no involvement in Jessica's actions and that you shouldn't be held responsible for what she did. While I was dealing with the lawsuit, Jessica was spiraling. She called me constantly, begging for help, but I didn't know what to do. Please, she said during one particularly emotional call. I can't do this alone. I need you. Jessica, I can't fix this for you, I said, my voice firm. You need to take responsibility for what you did. But I didn't mean to do it, she cried. I thought you were cheating on me. I thought you were going to leave me. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Jessica, we've been over this. I wasn't cheating on you. And even if I was, destroying someone's car isn't the answer. She started crying again, and I felt a pang of guilt. As much as I wanted to be angry with her, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She was a mess, and I knew her actions came from a place of insecurity and fear. But that didn't change the fact that she just destroyed a $100,000 car. Sarah and I spent weeks gathering evidence to prove that I had nothing to do with Jessica's actions. We collected text messages, emails, and even security footage from the night of the incident. The footage was particularly damning. It showed Jessica arriving at the apartment building alone, baseball bat in hand, and proceeding to destroy Marcus's car. There was no sign of me anywhere. "This is good," Sarah said as we reviewed the footage. "It proves that Jessica acted alone and that you had no involvement in what happened." I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could win this after all. Just as we were preparing to go to court, Marcus's lawyers reached out with a settlement offer. "They're willing to drop the lawsuit against you," Sarah explained, "if you agree to testify against Jessica." I frowned. "Testify against her?" Sarah nodded. "They want you to confirm that Jessica acted alone and that you had no involvement in what happened. It's a way for them to strengthen their case against her." I felt a knot form in my stomach. Testifying against Jessica felt like a betrayal, but what choice did I have? If I didn't take the deal, I could be on the hook for $250,000. "What do you think I should do?" I asked Sarah. "I think you should take the deal," she said. "It's the best way to protect yourself." I spent the next few days agonizing over the decision. On one hand, testifying against Jessica felt wrong. She was my girlfriend, and I still cared about her, even after everything she'd done. But on the other hand, I couldn't let her drag me down with her. She'd made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. In the end, I took the deal. The day I testified against Jessica was one of the hardest days of my life. Sitting in that courtroom, watching her cry as I recounted the events of that night, I felt like I was betraying someone I once loved, but I kept reminding myself that she had brought this on herself. She had chosen to destroy that car, and now she had to face the consequences. When I took the stand, I kept my testimony short and to the point. I explained that I had no involvement in Jessica's actions and that I had no idea she was going to destroy Marcus's car. I also confirmed that Jessica had a history of jealousy and paranoia, which the defense used to argue that she was mentally unstable. Jessica's lawyer tried to paint me as the villain, suggesting that I had driven her to act out by neglecting her or cheating on her. But the evidence was on my side. The security footage, the text messages, and even Jessica's own statements to the police all supported my version of events. When I stepped down from the stand, I avoided looking at Jessica. I didn't want to see the hurt in her eyes. The jury didn't take long to reach a verdict. Jessica was found guilty of criminal mischief and ordered to pay Marcus $100,000 in damages. She was also sentenced to 6 months in jail, though the judge allowed her to serve it as house arrest due to her lack of prior criminal record. As for me, Marcus dropped the lawsuit against me as part of the settlement. I was off the hook, but I didn't feel relieved. All I felt was a deep, aching sadness. Jessica and I didn't speak after the trial. She moved out of our apartment and cut off all contact with me. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling, financially, emotionally, and mentally. Part of me wanted to reach out to make sure she was okay, but I knew it wasn't my place. She had to figure things out on her own. As for me, I threw myself into my work, using the experience as motivation to build a better life for myself. I started seeing a therapist to work through the guilt and anger I still felt, and slowly I began to heal. It's been a year since the trial, and life has slowly started to feel normal again. I've moved to a new city, started a new job, and even started dating again. It's been a slow process, but I'm learning to trust again, to open myself up to new relationships. I've also learned a lot about myself through all of this. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive even the most difficult situations. And I've learned that sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. But most importantly, I've learned that no matter how bad things get, there's always a way forward. Love these Reddit stories? Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.